She was only 21, but life had beaten her in ways that would make even an old woman weep. Amara was an orphan. Her parents had died in a road accident when she was just 10, leaving her and her younger brother Cheek to survive on their own. At first, relatives had promised to take care of them, but as months rolled into years, those promises faded like smoke in the Harmattan wind. Amara and Chika struggled to survive in the slums of Lagos, but when Chika fell gravely ill, Amara did the unthinkable to save his life. Her sacrifice and relentless quest to save her only brother ended up saving another man, unaware that he was a billionaire. What happened next will leave you speechless. So sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn. Don't skip this video. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell for more captivating stories like this. Now, let me tell you an unforgettable story that will change your mind. By the time Amara turned 18, she was both a sister and a mother to Chiki. She worked menial jobs, cleaning houses, selling groundnuts by the roadside, even hawking sachet water under the scorching Lagos sun. Every naira she earned went into paying Cheek's school fees because she had sworn on her parents' graves that no matter how poor she became, her brother would get an education. But hardship is a stubborn visitor. Rent piled up, and many nights Amara went to bed hungry just so Cheek could eat. One evening, while returning from work, she fainted by the roadside. A passerby sprinkled water on her face and whispered, "Poor girl, life is really unfair." Amara got up, dusted her torn gown, and forced a smile. She knew tears would not feed her brother. Across town, far away from the narrow streets where Amara and her younger brother struggled to survive, stood the grand marble mansion of Chief Obinna Nwosu. His house was like a palace, high walls, golden gates, and a fleet of cars that gleamed in the Lagos sun. People often stopped at a distance just to marvel at the wealth within. To many, Chief Obinna was the image of success, a billionaire who had built his empire from scratch, a man who owned oil companies, vast estates in Abuja, businesses in Port Harcourt, and properties overseas. But behind the tall gates and glittering wealth was a truth hidden from the world. Chief Obinna was dying. His body had betrayed him, his kidneys had failed, and though the finest doctors in Nigeria and abroad attended to him, they all said the same thing. "Chief, unless you receive a transplant, you will not live beyond a few months." He was flown to South Africa, then to Germany, and later to the United States. Each hospital, no matter how sophisticated, came back with the same verdict. Medicines could only prolong his days. Only a kidney from a living donor could save him. Chief Obinna was a man who had conquered business wars, outsmarted rivals, and stood tall against politicians. But this battle, this silent war inside his own body, was one he could not buy his way out of. Chief Obinna had 3 children: UCHE, the eldest son, proud and ambitious, Ngozi, his only daughter, sharp-tongued and selfish, and Emeka, the youngest, known more for his reckless spending than his sense. When the doctors suggested that his children should be tested for compatibility, hope filled Chief Obinna's heart. Surely, he thought, his own blood would not abandon him, but greed is a poison that blinds the heart. UCHE refused outright. "Papa," he said coldly, "I am the one managing your companies now. If something happens to me during surgery, who will take care of your empire? Think about it." Ngozi pretended to cry, clutching her father's hand. "Daddy, I wish I could help you, but you know I'm still young and planning to have children. What if I give you my kidney and later have complications? Please forgive me." Emeka, the last-born, laughed it off. "Daddy, doctors said people with 1 kidney should not drink alcohol. You know I like enjoyment. How will I survive without my lifestyle?" Their words pierced Chief Obinna's heart deeper than any knife could. That night, when everyone left, Chief Obinna locked himself in his massive bedroom. He sat by the window, looking at the city lights twinkling in the distance, and for the first time in years, he wept like a child. "All my wealth, all my properties, yet my children would rather watch me die than give up a part of themselves." His voice cracked in the silence of the room. People outside saw him as a man who had everything. But what is the use of riches if you cannot buy love? What is the meaning of power if those closest to you would rather wait for your funeral than fight for your survival? Chief Obina remembered the years he sacrificed to build his empire. He remembered how he had missed birthdays, school plays, and family gatherings, all in the name of giving his children a better life. And now, that very sacrifice had created children who valued wealth over his life. He thought of his late wife, Adaz, who had died 5 years earlier. She had always warned him, "Obina, money can never raise children. Love them, be present, guide them." But he was too busy chasing contracts and expanding businesses. Now, he was reaping the fruit of neglect. As weeks passed, Chief Obina's health grew worse. He moved with difficulty, his once strong body now thin and weak. The mighty lion of industry had become a shadow of himself. At night, he could not sleep. He would sit in his study, staring at family portraits on the wall, his smiling children, their mother beside them, and wonder how love could vanish so quickly. He tried to keep the news of his illness away from the public. If the world knew the billionaire was dying, vultures would circle his empire. But within him, he felt time slipping away. Every day, drivers polished his fleet of cars, gardeners trimmed his lawns, cooks prepared his meals, but nothing brought him joy. All he desired was life, a second chance to breathe, to walk freely, to live without machines tied to his body. And yet, life was leaving him. One evening, as Chief Obina lay weak in his hospital bed in Lagos, he overheard 2 nurses talking outside his ward. "Such a pity," one said. "This is Chief Obina Nwosu, the billionaire everyone admires, yet none of his children will save him." The other sighed. "It shows you that money cannot buy everything. Sometimes, a poor man with a good heart is richer than a wealthy man with selfish children." Their words cut deeply, but they also awakened something inside him, a realization that perhaps salvation would not come from his bloodline, but from the kindness of a stranger. And indeed, far away, in the slums of Lagos, a poor orphan named Amara was about to cross paths with him in a way that neither of them could ever imagine. It was at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital that destiny tied Amara and Chief Obina together. Amara had rushed Chike to the hospital after he suffered an epileptic-related seizure. While waiting at the emergency ward, one of the doctors came out and told Amara that Chike is stable, but he needs further treatment, and she has to pay for the hospital bills before they can admit Chike fully and continue the treatment. She knew you could no afford the hospital bills, and there was no hope of getting help from anyone. She went to the window and started crying helplessly and lost in endless thoughts. Minutes passed, hours passed, and still nothing. She overheard nurses whispering about a billionaire in need of a kidney. "Imagine, the man has billions, but no one to save him," one nurse said. "Even his own children refused," another added. Amara's heart trembled. She knew she was not related to the man, yet something inside her stirred. She thought about her life, her suffering, her hunger. Then she thought about her brother. She don't have enough money for the hospital bills, and she knew if Chike dies, her last hope and reasons to survive would be gone. She thought for several hours, and she knew there was no way to pay the hospital bills to save Chike, and then she finally made up her mind. "What if I can save 2 lives at the same time?" she thought to herself. "What if I donate my kidney in exchange of saving my brother and also another man's life to her?" It was a generous and fair bargain to save his brother and another man, since life had never really favored her. Amara approached the doctors. "I want to donate my kidney," she said boldly, "but on one condition." The doctors were shocked. "What is the condition?" one of the doctors asked. Amara said quickly. "You have to save my brother. He is dying, and I do not have money for the hospital bills." One of the doctors replied, "Do you know what this means? You may never live a normal life again." "I don't care," Amara whispered. "If my kidney can save 2 lives at the same time, let it be so." Tests were carried out, and when the result came out, the doctors were astonished. Among the dozens others who had volunteered because of the benefits they want from Chief Obina's wealth, all the result did not match. But finally, it was Amara, a frail orphan girl from the slums. The head doctor walked into Chief Obina's private ward. "Chief, we have found a donor, and it matched." Obina's eyes lit with hope for the first time in months. "Who? Which of my children agreed?" He had hopes that one of his kids has finally changed their mind to save him, but he was heartbroken when the doctor told him about the donor. The doctor hesitated. "It is not one of your children, sir. It is a girl, a poor young woman. She has no relation to you, yet she insists she wants to donate." Obinna frowned in disbelief. "A stranger? Why would a stranger risk her life for me?" The doctor shook his head. "We asked her the same question. She only said, 'If my kidney can save 2 lives, let it be so.'" For a long time, Chief Obinna could not speak. Then his eyes filled with tears. The mighty man who had faced presidents and business rivals without fear now wept openly in front of the doctors. His own flesh and blood had refused him, but a girl with nothing to her name had offered him life. The morning of the surgery arrived. The hospital corridors buzzed with quiet tension. Nurses wheeled Amara into the theater. She was thin, her hospital gown hanging loosely on her shoulders. Yet her face carried a strange peace. A nurse bent close to her and asked softly, "Do you want to see him before the surgery? Perhaps say goodbye?" Amara shook her head. "Number, let him live. That's enough for me. I don't need thanks. I don't even want him to know my face. I just want my brother to be saved and he have his life back." The nurse squeezed her hand. "You are braver than you know." Inside the operating room, the beeping of machines echoed like the rhythm of a drum. Doctors moved swiftly, their gloved hands steady, their eyes focused. Hours passed, long hours filled with uncertainty. Finally, when the lights dimmed and the surgeon stepped back, a sigh of relief filled the theater. The transplant was successful. Chief Obinna lived. But Amara lay weak and pale in another ward, her body fragile, struggling to adjust to life with 1 kidney. Every breath felt heavy, every movement a battle. Yet, even then, her thoughts were not of herself. She whispered Cheek's name in her sleep, her heart bound to her brother. To her, she had just saved her brother and another dying man. She had no idea that the man whose life she gave her strength for was one of the most powerful men in Nigeria. Weeks later, when her stitches healed and the hospital finally discharged her, Amara did not wait for gratitude or gifts or recognition. She did not linger in the gleaming hospital halls where wealthy patients came and went. She simply picked up her torn slippers, wrapped her few belongings in a nylon bag, and returned straight to the only place she knew with Chilka, who is now in good health. Back in the small one-room shack she shared with Chiki, life resumed as though nothing had happened. Amara struggled to stand for long hours, but still she went to the roadside, selling sachet water and ground nuts. Every penny mattered. She had no time to boast about sacrifice. Her only concern was Cheek's school fees and their next meal. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Chief Obinna awoke in his hospital bed, alive, strong, breathing freely for the first time in months. His children visited, their smiles wide, their voices sweet, pretending to rejoice. But Obinna's eyes no longer trusted them. He knew the truth. He had begged them, and they had refused him. Now, all he wanted was the girl, the mysterious girl who had given him life. "Find her," he ordered his men. "Spare no cost. Search every corner of Lagos. Until I look into her eyes, my soul will not rest." His words sent ripples across the city. His aides, drivers, even policemen were dispatched. He promised a fortune to anyone who found her. At last, a nurse who remembered Amara's frail figure, her worn-out slippers, and her quiet smile. She was the one that attended to Amara and Cheek when they came to the emergency ward. She searched for Cheek's file to get some details from it, but there was no specific address, just street name, the slum where they lived, and she quickly gave out the little information she had. One Saturday morning, the slum grew restless. Children ran barefoot along the dusty road, shouting, "Big men have come! Big men have come!" Black SUVs, their windows tinted, their engines humming like lions, rolled slowly into the poor neighborhood. Mothers dropped their washing basins, men left their card games, and everyone gathered, staring in awe and fear. Nothing like this had ever happened in their community. From one of the SUVs, Chief Obinna stepped out. He was no longer the dying, frail man they once whispered about. He stood tall now, his agbada pure white, his cap tilted with authority, his face glowing with renewed health. Bodyguards surrounded him, but his eyes scanned the crowd, searching. From a narrow doorway, Amara stepped out. Her faded gown fluttered in the wind, her bare feet dusty, her afro unkempt from struggle. She looked around in confusion as whispers spread. The nurse remembered her, and she said to Chief Obinna, "Nah, her, oh, that's the girl. She is the one." When her eyes finally met Obinna's, the world seemed to stand still. The billionaire's lips trembled. He walked forward slowly, ignoring his guards. Standing before her, he whispered with a voice thick with emotion, "Amara, you gave me life." The poor girl bowed her head, her voice soft, almost shy. "I only did what I could. Anyone would have done the same to save his brother and a random man." But Chief Obinna shook his head. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. "No, my daughter, even my own blood refused me. You gave me what my wealth could not buy. You gave me what my children would not give. From today," his voice rose so the crowd could hear, "your life will never be the same." Gasps filled the air. Mothers held their children close, men exchanged shocked glances. In that moment, destiny had shifted, and Amara's world was about to be rewritten. The day Chief Obinna declared Amara his daughter, the slum erupted with celebration. Neighbors who once mocked her now whispered blessings, and those who had despised her poverty now looked at her with awe. To them, it was as though a Cinderella story had unfolded right before their eyes. Chief Obinna wasted no time. He ordered his aides to pack Amara and Cheek's few belongings, an old mat, some worn clothes, in a small metal box, and carried them into his black SUVs. That evening, for the first time in her life, Amara walked through the golden gates of a mansion she had only seen in passing. Her eyes widened at the sight, a fountain gushing water in the courtyard, gardens filled with flowers that danced in the wind, walls so tall and painted that they shone even at night. Inside, crystal chandeliers glittered above her head like stars. The marble floor was so polished she could see a reflection in it. Cheek ran ahead, his laughter echoing down the hallways. For the first time, he behaved like the child he was, free from hunger and worry. Amara, however, stood frozen. Tears welled in her eyes. "Is this real?" she whispered to herself, "or am I dreaming?" Chief Obinna placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice deep and warm. "From this day, you are my daughter. This is your home. Eat without fear, sleep without fear, and learn without fear. You're no longer a child of the streets, you're a child of destiny." Life changed overnight for Amara and Chaiki. She was enrolled in one of the best universities in Lagos, her fees paid in advance. For the first time, she sat in a lecture hall, not as a hawker peeking from outside, but as a student. Chaiki was sent to a prestigious secondary school where he wore a clean uniform and carried books instead of hawking trays. His classmates marveled at how quickly fortune had smiled on him. In the mansion, Amara had her own room, painted in soft cream with curtains that swayed gently in the evening breeze. The bed was so soft she wept the first night she lay on it, remembering the hard wooden floor she once shared with her brother. Every meal was a feast, plates of rice and stew, steaming jollof, fresh fruits, meats she had never tasted before. She often whispered prayers of gratitude before she ate. And it wasn't for long. Jealousy grew in the shadows. Comment and let us know what you think about this beautiful story. If you want part 2, comment part 2. Subscribe and turn on the notification and wait for the next part.